great day, attractive thinkers and visionaries around the world. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance. We are delighted to be back here with you. We celebrate you. We had a fantastic and amazing week, and I'm sure that you have as well. I want to celebrate you for clicking that like button because you are sharing information and resources that are powerful, that are life changing. Because if it has changed your life, as some of the attractive thinkers have already stated, then I know it is changing the lives of your circle of influence as well. Click the share button, share these messages, and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Beyond the Break 2020. Welcome, my co host, Tichet Bradshaw, to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance.
Happy Mindset Monday, everybody. You guessed it. We made it. We made it through another week. We get to do what we've never done, go where we've never gone, and have all that we deserve to have in this lifetime. It's a great day to be alive.
Yes, it is. It is a fantastic and amazing day to be alive today, tomorrow, the next day, the next day, next week, next month, next year. As long as you are breathing, it is a fantastic and amazing day to be alive. Attractive thinkers and visionaries, I want you to make sure you have your Attractive Thinker notebook handy to capture these gems today. And I just want to remind you, and I want to ask, are you reviewing your notes? Are you reviewing the gems that you're capturing from these powerful, life altering messages? Because you know what I've noticed, Tishet, when I'm listening to a thought leader or at a conference or watching a video or reading a book or something like that, and I'm taking notes, I notice if I listen to that message again, I get something different and deeper. I get more revelation of the gems that I've captured, from this content, and it makes a greater impact. It like I won't say seals the deal, but it continues what I've already started, to receive from that message. It's a continuation. It's not an end all. It's not like I listened to it one time or read it one time and I captured the gems and that's it. No, I've discovered that the more you read it or listen to it over and over and over, the deeper you go, the deeper understanding that you get. And also, to shed, you understand how to practically apply the gems that you've captured. See, it's one thing to hear something and something stands out to you, say, oh my God, that's relevant, let me capture that. But do you know how to apply what you captured? And you only get that experience as you continue to listen to that message over and over and over and over again. And that's what we want to encourage you to do. Our Beyond the Break 2020 YouTube channel is full of content. We have over 100 episodes on our YouTube channel for you to continue to renew your mind for mental healing, mental strength, and mindset maintenance, and for you to get practical application of the gems that you've captured, because you may have captured gems from one episode, but it may be another episode that give you real deeper revelation concerning those gems that you captured. So I wanted to encourage you to review the notes that you've taken in your Attractive Thinker Notebook. Do you know your Attractive Thinker Notebook is invaluable? It's rich. It's full of resources that no matter where you find yourself in life, no matter what stage of life you find yourself in, or how many years pass after you've heard that message and captured those gems, you're going to find something that you can use in the present moment. So you have something that's valuable. Treasure it. Keep it in a safe place. Your Attractive Thinker Notebook isn't available to everyone else. It's your customized personal experience that's going to also provide for you as you continue to move throughout your life. Today, we're going to be talking about releasing the weight of the things that you cannot change. I want you to write that down in your Attractive Thinker Notebook. Release the weight of the things that you cannot change. So many times throughout our lives, we experience things, and when we're on the other side of the experience, we call them defining moments. Whether you're entering into a break, whether you're in a break, you're leaving a break, or you're beyond the break, you're gonna always have in the back of your mind, I wonder, should I? I wonder, could I? I wonder, would I? Shoulda, coulda, woulda. I wonder if I had said this, done this, experienced this, or responded in a different way, or if I wonder if maybe if I wasn't there at that situation, it wouldn't have happened like that. Maybe if I just never showed up to that event, this or that or the other wouldn't have happened. Maybe if I had said nothing, then the outcome would be different. Maybe if I had said something. Have you ever been in an experience or had an encounter where something was said and you didn't say anything, but later on after you got home, you said, I wish I had said this or that, the other. I should have said this or that, the other. I should have responded. When they said that to me, I should have told them this and that and the other. Have you ever had that experience feeling like your silence contributed to the outcome? Or have you ever had the experience feeling like you saying something when you felt like you shouldn't have contributed to the outcome? Shoulda, coulda, woulda can wear you out, attractive thinker. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Maybe if I wore something different, I wouldn't have gotten that response. Or maybe if my shoes weren't too tight, or maybe if I hadn't worn that hat, or maybe if I had the money, the outcome would be different. Or maybe if I had taken the opportunity, or maybe I should have said no. Maybe I shouldn't have taken that opportunity. Do you know how long this shoulda, coulda, woulda experience can go? How many loops it can take you in? Do you know how much time you can spend in that energy of shoulda, coulda, woulda? When you get to a point in your life and you realize, see, you have to grow to this point. It's easy for me to tell you, oh, don't do that to yourself. Don't torment yourself like that. Oh, don't worry about the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. It is what it is. Let's start from this point and see what good we can pull from it. What can we use from this experience, or how much more can we further our lives or the lives of those that we serve as a result of this experience? It's easy to say that when your mind is bringing up all of these scenarios and different movies are playing out, different scenes, different experiences, different ways to view, different perceptions and perspectives about your experience. Do you know that we can traumatize our own selves trying to change something that we can't change? And also, Tichet, who's to say that if we did those things, we did say something that we didn't say, or we did wear something that we didn't wear, or we did say yes when we should have said no, that the outcome would be different?
Right.
We're believing and we're telling ourselves that the outcome would have been different if. But who's to say that it would be? What if it wasn't? What if it doesn't change? Have you ever seen the movie Butterfly Effect? Whereas they kept trying to change these scenarios and experiences, and it kept leading. It was like this automated pull, like this gravitational force that kept pulling the outcome back to the same outcome, pulling the whole experience back to the same outcome, no matter what the experience, whether they stopped at the green light or ran through the red light. It all led to the same experience. So who's to say? It's us. It's the subconscious mind. It's our belief that if something was different, I would have received a different outcome. That's coming from us. That's not coming from anything outside of us. So we can actually torment and re-traumatize ourselves over and over. We can actually abuse ourselves over and over and over again when we don't accept what already is. I don't care how many times I've tried to shed. There's no way I can go back and change anything. There were times in my life that I wish I could. I wish I could have changed this. I wish maybe if I had done more research, maybe if I was more knowledgeable, maybe if I knew more, maybe if I had educated myself, maybe if I knew the answer. As a health coach, to shed, there's so many more natural remedies that I'm discovering now that could have helped me way back when. But it would be abuse. It would be self-abuse for me to play the shoulda, coulda, woulda game about things that I experienced in my health when I didn't even have the answers back then. I didn't have these resources back then. You have to say these things to yourself. You have to remind your mind, attractive thinker and visionary, that you didn't have those answers back then. You didn't have those resources back then. You didn't have the knowledge back then that you have now. Here's another one to share. Sometimes throughout my life, I would say, and I know we've heard the phrase, if I knew then what I know now, or I would take the woman that I am now and regret the decisions that the woman I used to be made.
Mm-hmm.
Regret the choices and the decisions that she made and wish that I had made better decisions back then. But how could I have made better decisions back then if I didn't have better information? If I didn't know better, if I wasn't healthier, if my self-esteem wasn't where it needed to be, how can I make those better choices? And it's not fair for us where we are now as attractive thinkers and visionaries. Okay, you gain wisdom, you gain knowledge, you understand the attractive thinker movement and all this and that, and you want to take what you know now and whoop the person that you used to be with it.
Mm.
If now that I have wisdom in this area, if I had changed this and that and the other back then, if I hadn't went over their house, or if I hadn't went to the party, or if I had said no, or if I had not involved myself in that relationship, that things would be different. You didn't know that back then. And if you are a real attractive thinker and visionary to the core, back then you were doing the best that you could. You were seeking truth back then. You wanted to know the truth. You were trying to do the right thing back then. Even though it may have led to some decisions and choices that didn't produce the outcomes that you wanted, it didn't mean that you still weren't trying. It didn't mean that your intention wasn't good. We can only do the best that we can with the best that we can. We have to understand that and not get to higher levels in our lives and new levels of growth and then regret who we used to be, because it was that person that we were that got us here.
Uh-huh.
Write that down in your attractive thinker notebook. I no longer regret the person that I used to be, because that person was smart enough to get me here.
Mm.
The decisions that that person made got me here. And guess what? The person that you are today is smart enough to get you to the next level. So that does away with all of the self-hate, all of the shaming and the guilt and the regret and all of that inadequate feeling, thinking that you're inadequate, thinking that you're incompetent, thinking you're not capable. You are smart enough to get you from this level right here to your next level of abundance. Tichet, talk to us today about releasing the weight of the things that we cannot change.
Absolutely. One of the things, Dr. Toni, while you were talking, I thought about, we have to have a habit of moving forward. We have to create habits of moving forward. When
Mm-hmm.
you live in regret like that, it pumps the brakes on your life,
Mm.
because you can't bathe in coulda, woulda, and shoulda while you are trying to win at the same time, right? You're choosing one or the other. You're either going to think, oh, if I would have just said this, then I would have had that, and then I could have did this. You can't think that while planning your next move at the same time, right?
Mm.
See, here's the thing. When you are looking back at what you should have done, just take the lesson only, not the pain,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's another habit to have, right? We want to create moving forward habits. When that woulda, shoulda, coulda comes up, in order to not pump the brake, you have to have the right perception of what you think you should have done, could have done, or would have done. And then you have to accept that it wasn't done. And then going forward, what are you going to do with that information? How are you going to let that information serve you, right? Because one of the things we don't want to do is live in regret. When you live in regret, I believe that it not only restricts you mentally, which is a part of abuse, right? It restricts you mentally. I believe it restricts you spiritually too, meaning it kind of restricts you from moving forward and building a life worth living. You have to have a habit of moving forward in order to build a life worth living. You cannot build a life worth living always coulda, woulda, shoulda in the past. Now, here's the thing, that regret, that coulda, woulda, shoulda, is like a monkey on your shoulders, because what you're doing is replaying the same information over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? And while you're replaying that in your head, even though you're saying I should have, I could have, I would have, you're reliving that over and over and over again. So if you were beaten and you say I should not have went there, not only are you taking the beating and reigniting the feeling and the pain and the trauma of the beating, but you're also taking the blame for said beating, right? We got to stop taking blame for things we cannot change.
Mm-hmm.
And stop putting the blame on situations that we had no way of making any other decision. Listen, when you're going forward in life and you're met with a decision, you always do the best you can with what you have and what you know at the time. If you have done that, then you made the right decision. There is no woulda, coulda, and shoulda.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Toni, I wanted to share with people a prayer that I feel that people really should have as part of their transformation power wall, something that's really helped me. And that's the serenity prayer. Many of you have learned it, many of you know it by heart, but I wanted to read it today because once I really got a good understanding of how to apply this to life, it was a game changer. So the prayer is, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the serenity, the peace of the things I cannot change. That's acceptance, right? Grant the courage to change the things I can. You want that strength to be able to change the things you can, right? The wisdom to know the difference. That's discernment. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace, taking as he did the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that he will make all things right if I surrender to his will, that I may reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever in the next. Amen. Right? That prayer, when you apply that prayer, having the serenity to accept the things you cannot change, that means you got to make peace with what you didn't say, what you didn't do, what you should have done, what you could have done. You have to find a way to make peace with that, right? So that that's not a monkey on your back. We want to lift all of that weight. We want to get in the habit of lifting every weight that we can off our shoulders so that we can move forward freely and live in light. And I mean, not in just in like the electric light, but I mean lightly, not having that heaviness always on us. And that's going to take certain habits as well. That negative self-talk, that's part of the negative self-talk. That regret is part of negative self-talk. It is part of the mental abuse that we endure over and over again because we're not paying attention to what that negative self-talk is. That is a part of it, right? When you're living with regret, you are not allowing yourself to play a bigger game in life. We have to play a bigger game in life in order for us to have the peace we deserve. And to play a bigger game in life, that is going to take us to understand that when we look back, we're only taking the lessons and the blessings. We're not taking the trauma. We're not taking the pain. We're getting in the habit of not beating ourselves up because of a decision that we made based on what we knew and what we had at the time. We're not allowing ourselves to keep talking to ourselves as if we are incompetent, right? Because when you regret that woulda, coulda, and shoulda, it just insinuates that you feel incompetent with yourself. You feel like you didn't make the best decision because for whatever reason, right? We have many reasons on why we didn't make the best decision. But here's the thing. What if everything you have gone through was meant to happen? What if it was meant to create the person you are becoming or you are right now? If you're living beyond a break, what if the break was meant to happen to create the one you're in now? If you are coming out of the break, what if what happened in the break, you're coming out, is contributing to the beauty of your outcome that's happening when you live beyond the break, when you come out of this break? What if the person that's coming out of this break is greater because of what you didn't do or because of what you did do? You just never know. But one thing you can know is to accept the things you cannot change, to have the serenity to accept the things you cannot change. So that's one of the things I have to speak over myself a lot, because sitting here beating myself up for what I believe I could have changed or could have done or wish I would have known is useless. It does nothing. If there's a lesson to be learned, learn that lesson and then move forward. Continuing with the regret of the shoulda, woulda, coulda game is limited. It's stifling. It'll make you stale, stuck, and stagnant. And we say we don't live stale, stuck, and stagnant. We don't live routine, mundane life. We play a bigger game of moving forward, building a life worth living, right? And you want to be around people who practice the same thing. Another thing, Dr. Toni, you said, what if the silence contribute to the outcome? What if it did? What if the fact that we didn't say anything means we didn't make more of a mess than what it had to be? What if the fact that we didn't say anything kept our character intact? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things we have to consider with things that happened in the past. And one thing to consider is that everything you did was the right thing. It was the right thing you did at the time. You showed up to somewhere and it didn't go the way you planned. Could have been the right thing. You chose the wrong job. It could have been the right thing. You could have had a wrong relationship. It could have been the right thing. You could have built the wrong home. It could have been the right thing at the time. We just don't know, right? We don't know the purpose for everything. All we do know is that it is a purpose to everything, and we have to trust that purpose. And sometimes that purpose is not revealed right away. Sometimes it's revealed as you go forward. We're saying to you today that the healing that takes place when you learn to accept the things you cannot change is one that is priceless. It is a valuable reward for playing in a bigger game. When you allow yourself to not take part in the negative self-talk, the regret, the shame, the fear, all of the things that stifle you, and you allow yourself to heal, you give yourself the opportunity to move forward in life. You give yourself the opportunity to let go, to free your spirit of shaming yourself. What good does it do to have those things keep playing in your mind? That shoulda, coulda, and woulda. What good is it doing to you? Has it been helping? Pay attention to your energy when you're thinking those things. We want to pay attention anyway, right? We want to get in the habit of paying attention to our energy. When you're paying attention to your energy, you're also paying attention to what's taking up your mental space at the time that's causing said energy. When you're paying attention to that mental space, you're also paying attention to how can it be better? What can I do to go forward? What can I do with this information? Lessons and blessings only. We're letting go of the trauma. We're letting go of the pain because we want a healing. Attractive thinkers, visionaries want healing. We don't want to bathe in the sorrow. We don't want to play victim. We don't want to keep going in the sadness. We want to live beyond the break. We want to know that we can turn our pain into power. We want to know that life beyond a break is fulfilling and joyful, and the purpose will help us to make it count, to make our pain count, right? We don't want to live and bathe in the sorrow of what we should have done. That does nothing for us. That's abuse. When you continue to allow yourself to think things that's not helping you, those things are hurting you. And that's the habit we got to get out of, is hurting ourselves. We got enough hurt in this world. There's enough situations and circumstances that go on every day that we need strength for. Blame game, the shoulda, coulda, woulda, the fear, guilt, and the shame, all of those things are unnecessary trauma that's happening over and over again. That inner dialogue that you have with yourself makes all the difference in the world. Make sure when you choose your inner dialogue, You are choosing forward. You are choosing building a life worth living. You are choosing peace. You are choosing joy. You are choosing to believe in the more. You are choosing you.
Mm-hmm.
What in the world is worth your sanity?
Mm.
What thought is worth your sanity? What decision is worth your sanity?
Mm.
What situation, what person is worth your sanity?
Mm.
Nothing. Your peace is your power.
Mm.
So your peace should be your priority. If you make your peace your priority, then you're paying attention to what brings you peace. And if you're paying attention to what brings you peace, you know what stands out, what doesn't bring you peace. And you start to make decisions that go towards peace. Because when you're peaceful, you're allowing yourself to be free. You're allowing yourself to move lightly. You're allowing yourself the opportunity to go forward without heavy bags. You're allowing yourself to move faster, to reach where you want to go quicker.
Mm-hmm.
There's no setbacks in life. I think TD Jake said your setback is a setup for a comeback,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this is the way you look at it. When you realize your setback is a setup, period, then you're looking for your comeback. You're not looking at the setback. You're not focusing on your setback. You're looking at the comeback. Okay, how is this a comeback? How did me almost losing my mind a comeback? How did me getting my heart break is a comeback? How? How am I supposed to look at this differently? You remember how we talked about shifting your perceptions? Dr.
Yes.
Toni always say it's not what you're going through, but how you're viewing it. That's shifting your perception. You
Mm.
got to reach for a better thought. You got to fight for yourself, fight for your mental peace, fight
Alcohol.
for your right to be peaceful, fight for your right to be happy, fight for your right to move forward. We deserve whatever's on the other side of this break. Why? Because we know that mentally we build a life, right? And you start to manifest what's on your spirit. You start to manifest what's in your inner dialogue. You start to manifest those things. So if you're spending in the break building power, then what's on the other side of the break, you know, is nothing but power.
Mm.
We deserve that. We deserve the peace and the happiness and the dreams and the goals that we have set for ourselves. We deserve to move forward. Don't quit because one thing happened. No matter how big it is, don't let it make you quit. Your peace is your priority. A life worth living, that's priceless. That's something you got to build. Nobody's going to knock on the door and give you a priceless life. That's something you got to take. That's something you have to have the boldness and the courage to take. One decision at a time if you have to. You're not going to know everything. You're going to make mistakes. We talked about that last week. If you haven't watched it, watch A Perfect Mistake. We talked about how you take the mistakes that you've made and turn them into something that allows it to be more perfect than it did before you made the mistake. So that's another thing. That shoulda, woulda, and coulda. How can you make that a perfect mistake? How can you turn it into something greatness? How can you turn it into greatness? We don't live in sorrow anymore. Those days are gone and over. You have to decide that though. You have to make a declaration that from this day forward, I'm going to do the best that I can with what I know. From this day forward, I'm going to allow myself to see myself on the other side of this break. From this day forward, I'm not taking part in no toxic situations, no toxic conversations, no toxic relationships, no toxic game. I'm not taking part in the abuse of my mind, the abuse of my body, the abuse of my spirit. I'm not taking part in habits that stifle me, that cause me to be stale, stuck, and stagnant. I'm not taking part of things that set me back. I'm not doing that. So when we look at every setback is a comeback, you look for the comeback. And you make sure that that comeback manifests. You make sure you make it count. You make sure you build that comeback as something more powerful than that setback could ever have done. We deserve what's on the other side of this break.
Mm-hmm.
Woulda, coulda, and shoulda has never gotten you forward. It pumps the brakes. I want you guys to remember that. We
Mm-hmm.
can't pump the brakes on our journey. There's too much to gain. There's too much to gather. There's so many gems along our journey that we shouldn't even have to settle for eating shoulda, wouldas, and couldas. That is not a good diet, not a good mental diet to have, because we do eat mentally. Just like you eat physically, you intake certain things and you take in those foods, and those foods have nutrition and it affects your body. What you take into your mind affects you as well. You're eating. These are your gates, your eyes, your ears, and your mouth. Those are your gates. What you allow in them is what shapes you. So you have to be mindful of what you allow in them, and then be mindful of what you already put in them, so that you can heal from what you already put in them. We're done with self-negative talk. We're done with that. And if you still have a habit of negative self-talk, start a little bit at a day with replacing those negative self-talk with I can and I will. One thought at a time, one talk at a time. Just start replacing it. When you start catching you got to catch yourself first. You got to catch yourself mid-sentence. Dr. Toni used to say, you got to check those thoughts, check them at the door. You can't let them thoughts run rampant in your head, she used to say, right? Who practiced that? Where do you learn that type of stuff? You can't let thoughts run rampant in your head. You know, sometimes you if you mindlessly living through life, you think that the thoughts that you have to have them. You don't. You actually have a choice. You think that the pain that you actually have to have it. No, you have a choice. You don't have to live your life in misery. You can choose to go forward, but that's your choice. That's your decision. That's your right. You know, visionaries, attractive thinker, we see things. We see power. We see the good in the end. We see the vision, right? It is awesome when you allow yourself to move forward, to see that vision through, and you actually achieve said vision, because you didn't allow yourself to take the blame for things you didn't have no control over. When you allowed yourself to have the serenity of the things you cannot change, that peace is priceless. So every chance you get, I want you to remember that you have the ability to lift the weight that you're carrying of what you cannot change. Back to you, Dr. Toni.
So fantastic and amazing. Attractive thinkers and visionaries, I trust that you have captured those gems, and I'm here to reinforce them because you said so many great things, Tichet, that are notable. And I believe that we need to go deeper with them so that we can have practical application by the end of this message. So when we talk about today's topic, release the weight of what you cannot change. What is weight? See, a lot of times, Tichet, we hear things, but if we don't know the real definition of the words that we're using, we can't understand the impact that they're having on us. When we talk about weight, releasing the weight, we're talking about, I looked this up while you were talking, weight meaning the amount of heaviness, the amount that a thing weighs, the force that gravitation exerts on a body, or to add weight to load on additional weight. So there's a book, Tichet. I purchased it. I have not started reading it yet. I may have read the intro, but there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score. And I brought that up because we're talking about weight. As we move throughout life, Tichet, we're taking on weights. We take
Yes.
on weighty experiences, conversations that have weight, weighty relationships. Have you ever experienced having a conversation with someone or spending the day with someone and you leave drained? You don't leave empowered. Your energy is the indication of whether something is contributing, adding to your life, or something is taking away, weighing you down, extracting and subtracting from your life. You know whether something has weight to it or is weighing you down by how you feel, by how you feel after the conversation or during the conversation, by how you feel. Even when you see the number pop up on your phone, your energy shifts. It It either gets lighter, oh my God, I need to speak with them. I know they're going to have something great to say to help me get through my day. Or your energy drops and you feel the weight. You feel the shift of weight in your energy, and you're like, oh my God, I don't have time for this phone call right now. Or if I answer the phone, I know I'm going to be on here for hours. Or I know if I answer this phone, you know what the conversation is going to be about. You know whether something is weighing on you by how you feel, attractive thinker and visionary. So, um, to give you a tool to use for this message, releasing the weight of what you cannot change, I want you to remember to go to page 529 in the Attractive Thinker book. If you don't have your book, you need to get it on Amazon. It is a must. It is a must if you're going to reach your goals as an attractive thinker and visionary. If you're going to mentally heal your way to success, if you're going to heal through your trauma, if you're going to release the weight of the things that you cannot change, you need this tool. There's a section in there called I didn't choose it, but I wouldn't change it either. That's going to help you tie this message together and heal deeper on a deeper level, and including adding the gems that you've captured throughout this message, these customized gems. You've captured gems that nobody else is capturing because the things that you've captured are resonating with you. They didn't resonate with everyone that heard this message. Everybody has their own unique set of gems that they're capturing from these messages. You want to read page 529. I didn't choose it, but I wouldn't change it either. That's a perspective. That's a solid perspective that you can have when you're going through things and you don't want to, like Tichet says, live in the regret of the shoulda, coulda, woulda. Now, Tichet, you read we call it the Serenity Prayer. I would like to go over that prayer with a fine-tooth comb. I would like to highlight some things that I think attractive thinkers and visionaries can use. Can you pull that up again? Because the first parts of it, you said, God grant me the serenity.
Of the
That's
thing to accept the things I cannot change.
to accept the things I cannot change. That's number one. That's gonna lift the weight. When you come to the realization that this is something that I cannot change. And as attractive thinkers and visionaries, we've already decided not to carry excessive weight. There's even a scripture that says something about laying aside every weight that so easily besets us. It's something like that, laying aside every weight and moving forward, pressing on towards the mark of the prize of the high calling. It's something like that, but laying aside every weight. These are necessary weights. Even Erykah Badu has a song called Bag Lady, walking throughout life carrying all of these bags, carrying all of these weights, unnecessary weight. Do you know when you begin to release weight, you feel lighter? Not only do you feel lighter, you can go further faster.
Yeah.
You can make more progress. Sometimes it's not that we're doing the wrong thing, it's that we're carrying too much while doing the right thing. That's weighing us down and slowing down our progress. So, what's the first two lines of that serenity prayer that you read?
Okay, so God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference.
So, the serenity to accept, the courage to change what I can, and the what? The wisdom to
Wisdom
know
to
the
know the
difference.
difference.
So just that right there, we don't have to go any further. I encourage you, attractive thinker and visionary, to look this prayer up and read it over and over and over until you adopt or receive or accept that perspective. You know, and start applying that perspective in your life. When you find yourself falling into the regret of the shoulda, coulda, woulda, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. You're going to have to accept it. There's so many things in my life. I just had to sit with it and accept it. Toni, it is what it is. You couldn't do anything different. You can't go back and change anything. That is a guarantee. You will never be able to go back and change anything. You're going to have to accept this. And like Tichet said, sift through it, find the good in it. What can you use? If you can't change it, how can you use it? Write
Oh.
that down in your attractive thinker notebook. If you can't change it, how can you use it?
Mm-hmm.
See, we have to come up with the, just even the other day, I said out loud to myself, how else am I supposed to think about this? I needed a new perspective on an old situation.
Come on.
I needed a new perspective on an old experience, an old thought, an old repetitive thought. And I say, well, how else can I perceive this that would perceive it in a healthier way, that would lift my spirit, that would lift the weight? I don't want to perceive it in a way that adds additional weight to my spirit.
Yes.
That's not healthy. That's not helping me move forward. So write that down in your attractive thinker notebook. If I can't change it, how can I use it? That's our perspective. We own that. That's for the attractive thinker generation. That's how we roll. That's how we get through life. That's how we succeed and accomplish and conquer. When
Yes.
people ask you, how do you do what you do? I've accepted the things that I can't change and I've learned how to use them for my good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've learned how to use them for my good. That's how you there's something that we also say, if it has to hurt us, it has to count. That's how you make it count.
Mm-hmm.
That's how, see, there's nothing that an attractive thinker or visionary can experience that we can't make it count. There's nothing that can come our way that will be wasted. That's what I'm saying. It will not be wasted. We're going to use it. We're going to squeeze all the juice out of it that we can, even through the tears sometime, and we're going to use it, because nothing should come our way that hurts us. When I say hurts us, anytime something hurts you, it's accessing your heart. Now it's going deeper. Now you don't come too far. Now you're in my personal space. So if something has to, if something you encounter has to get that close and enter into your personal space, you have to make that count, because your personal space, that's where your treasure is. That's your heart. And if it has the audacity to come that close to your experience, make sure you make it count. Make sure, because nobody should have that kind of, and nothing and no one, no experience, no thought, no trauma should have that kind of access to you without you making it count. You think about that. If somebody has the audacity to walk all the way up to your front door and try to get in, you're going to make sure that they don't, because
Mm-hmm.
that's your personal space.
Yes.
You're not going to say, oh, well, I don't think they're going to be able to get in because I did lock the door. Or no, you're going to do things. You're going to call 911. You're going to ask them what they want, or get away from here, or you got the wrong address, or you're going to call for help. You're going to do something, because this is your treasure. This is your zone. This is your personal space. This is the core of where you operate from. This is where all of your essence of your life comes from. So you have to guard that. And if anything tries to challenge that, you don't just stand by passively and allow. No, you step up and you stand up. And when we talk about releasing this weight, we talk about God grant me the serenity. We talk about accepting what I can't change. Those are all perspectives. So
Mm-hmm.
now you get to choose what perspective. See, that's the thing, to share. When we go through something, you have to ask yourself, lay your perspectives out on the table, open up your attractive thinker note. But this should be handy. This is a tool. You should always know where this is. You
Mm-hmm.
should always have access to this. You should always have this book top of mind, because this is a resource. It's a saving grace, because it has a lot of thoughts in here and perspective that you can choose from when you can't come up with your own thoughts. When life knocks on your door, sometimes you can't even think straight. And Tichet, you talk about that power wall. Your power wall speaks when you can't even utter a word. When you can't even get a word out, that power wall will speak, because you planned it ahead of time. You put that tool in place ahead of time. That's your foundation. You fortified yourself ahead of time for the winds and the storms of life. So when we encounter these things, we're ready. And we don't have to worry about saying something that we shouldn't have said, or thinking something we shouldn't be thinking, or doing something we should, because we're fortified. We're ready. We, in our pocket, we have the attractive thinker book. In the back of the book, we have attractive thinker perspectives. We have new thoughts. We can pick and choose from thoughts. Now, when I can't come up with a thought, I open the book and I say, oh, that's a good thought to think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that thought lifted the weight. Oh, that thought made me feel better. Think about that. So we have tools. So God grant me the serenity. That's a perspective. To accept the things I cannot change, that lifts the weight. I accept what I cannot change. And we automatically know that if I can't change it, I'm going to see how I can use it.
Mm-hmm.
And the wisdom to know the difference.
Yes.
You need wisdom to know what you can change and what you can't.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have that wisdom for that balance, you'll be using your energy and your mental strength to try and change something that will never change.
Waste of time. Mm-hmm.
Wasted time. Thinking that your efforts will change people that have their mind made up. They're not changing.
Yep.
This is who I am. You know how many years you can waste waiting on someone to change, believing that someone's going to change when their mind is already made up. This is who they are until they die. This is who they're going to be until they take their last breath. And you prancing around thinking your good deeds is going to change something or somebody when it's not. Wisdom will let you know this is not going to change. Now you have to change.
Yes.
This is not going to change. Now, what are you going to do? That's lifting the weight. You know how heavy and weighty it can be trying to change something that's not going to change? Imagine trying to push a piece of concrete that's not budging. You know how much energy you can hurt yourself doing that.
Yep.
And we hurt ourselves in lives, self-inflicted wounds, when we don't have the wisdom to know the difference. So thank you for sharing that prayer, Tichet. I wanted to also highlight some things that you pointed out that stood out to me. Um, when you said how, I highlighted that. I even put it in quotes. You said, how could me losing this be a comeback?
Yeah.
That word how was the key right there. When we
Mm-hmm.
ask how, we open ourselves up to the answer, other
Yes. Yes.
possibilities. When we ask how, now you can receive other perspectives and other answers and other thoughts. If you
Yes.
don't ask how and you keep saying why, then all you're going to get is what you get. All
Mm.
you're going to get is what you got. The same thoughts, the same pain, the repetitive trauma, the same thoughts, that the same feelings triggered by the same thoughts. That's all you're going to get, because you keep saying, why did this happen? Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Why this? Why that? Why the other? How come this? How come? When you begin to ask, well, how should I think about this? You are releasing your limited knowledge and you're opening yourself up into infinite knowledge, because the divine knows how you should think about it. The divine knows a perspective that you can think that will get you through this in a healthy way, in a mentally healthy, stable way. You may not know, but when you ask how, you open yourself up to the answer, for the answer to come. So write that down in your attractive thinker notebook. Asking how. How should I think this? How should I view this? How should I perceive this situation? So that you can um, experience it in a healthier way without the regrets and the negative side effects of these experiences. Have you ever had an experience and you look back on, you say, man, I shouldn't have said that. I wish I had said this, or maybe I should have just, kept quiet, or maybe I should have just walked away, or maybe I should have said something. I wish I had said something. You have all of these negative side effects, or I shouldn't have responded that way. Not just responded that way to the situation, but as a coping mechanism for the situation. I, should,
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't have coped that way. I shouldn't have used that to cope with this. All of those negative side effects. But when you say how, you open yourself up to these divine perspectives, you don't have those negative side effects, and you don't have the regret of the negative coping mechanisms that you use to get through these things. So this is very key. Um, Tichet, you said, I like it when you said, that mentally you build a life. I
Mm-hmm.
love that. Attractive thinker, visionary, write that in your notebook. We build our lives mentally.
Yeah.
I did not want this message to end without highlighting that. We build our lives internally first.
Mm-hmm.
The external is just a manifestation of what we already did inside. We build our lives mentally, and the Attractive Thinker book on Amazon will help you do that. It will give you the tools to do that. The next thing I wanted to highlight that you said that can easily be breezed over is we deserve what's on the other side of this break. If it broke you, don't you think you deserve the fruit of that breaking? Why be broken and forfeit the fruit as well? If it's going to break you, at least get the fruit from it. At least, and I had to say that when my heart broke and I entered into my defining moment through my tears, I said, "It's okay, Toni, it's okay." And I'm wiping my face and looking in the mirror, and I said, "You're gonna live to see. I just have to live to see what's on the other side of this. I have to keep living so that I can see what this is all about." I made up my mind, crying and all. If I had to cry my way through it, I was just going to cry my way through it. But I wasn't going to throw in the towel because I wanted to see what was on the other side of this. I wanted to live long enough to see what this was all about, what this fruit would produce, this experience. What kind of fruit would this experience produce? And I had the power to forfeit that opportunity by having a faulty belief system, by yielding to negative thoughts which produce negative feelings. I could have forfeited the fruit, but I'm glad I didn't. And I'm glad that you didn't, Attractive Thinker and Visionary. I'm glad that you hung in there to see the fruit of the breaking. I'm glad that you hung in there to live beyond the break. That's important. So you said, Tichet, visionaries. Oh, when you said mentally we build a life, I referenced the Attractive Thinker book because we know to think attractively and we build our lives one thought at a time, from thought to thought. That's how we build our lives. You said visionaries and attractive thinkers, um, we see things differently, and it's incredible when we allow ourselves to walk out the vision, walk out what we see. So I wanted to highlight these things to Shep because they're easily missed in a
Yeah.
powerful conversation like this. It's so good and it's so juicy, and we're capturing gems, and we can't wait to write down or capture another gem from hearing the last gem, and we can miss some things. So I encourage you, attractive thinkers and visionaries, to listen to this message again. It is full. It is full of gems that you haven't captured. You've captured some, but you haven't captured them all. And you'll go deeper with yourself. It's a personalized message just for you. Release the weight of the things that you cannot change. That is self-abuse. You already know you can't change it. And if you don't, once you grow into that realization, you get to a point, because see, these journeys to shed, these defining moments and the things we go through in the midst of them, they are processes. You have
Yeah.
to grow to a point where I had to grow to the place where I say, you know what, I'm tired of feeling heavy. It's time for this weight to go. I just release it. I just have to wash my hands of it. I'm done. And I'm just going to start anew. I'm going to start again. I'm just going to start afresh. I'm going to start again. And I wrote down in my notes as well while you were talking, it came to me to share. We always think that when we hear the word forgiveness, we think about other people. Oh my God, it's kind of hard to forgive them for what they did and said and all that. But it's not as hard as me forgiving myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is the hardest forgiveness I've had to encounter on this planet, is me forgiving myself.
Yep.
So it's not about other people. It's about us. The attractive thinker generation in this global movement is about us building, like Tisha said, building ourselves up on the inside, building an identity, building a whole person, a person who is whole on the inside, so that you can handle what's on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
So forgiveness doesn't start with other people. Forget that. Yes, we have to forgive other people, but you can't really fully forgive anybody until you forgive yourself. You don't even know what forgiveness is until you've forgiven yourself.
Yep.
So think about that. It all starts with us. All of this begins with us. Tisha, tell our audience how they can get in touch with you, the visual encourager, and give us some final comments.
Absolutely. I want to encourage everybody to journal. We always talk about journal and the attractive thinker notebook and things like that, but I'm serious. I want you to journal where you are right now.
Mhm.
Journal there's a homework I gave on one of the other episodes, Dr. Toni,
Mhm.
where I said write down on what one column where you are, and another column write down where you want to be, right?
Mhm.
I want you to add to that. You can still do that, right? Where you are in one column, right? Where you want to be in another, right? So you have where you are and where you want to be.
Mhm.
I want you to, if you have a hard time with getting rid of negative self talk, and you
Mhm.
have a hard time getting rid of the woulda, coulda, and shoulda, take the thoughts that you're having now and write them down. And
Mhm.
then I want you to write down the opposite of that, right? You write down, so you're right. So if you say, I should have,
Mhm.
um, I wish I would have moved,
Mhm.
right? I should have, could have, would have moved, then I would have had, this, right? But I want you to write down on the other side, I did not move. What can I do with that now? And I want you to write a positive aspect to not moving.
Mhm.
What happened with you not moving? Who did you become with you making that mistake? Right? We want to take what our thoughts are now and apply a positive aspect to it.
Mhm.
Right? And then I want you to get in the habit of writing down the positive aspects that you come up with during the day, the things that you see. Dr. Toni has a lot in her book of positive aspects. I had a notebook of
Mhm.
positive aspects that I allowed myself to collect so that I could see where I was, but also it was a form of me prophesying where I wanted to be, right? I looked into last week, Dr. Toni, I looked into last week my book of positive aspects. In my book of positive aspects, what I didn't know at the time, I was going through depression. I had lost everything. I was hurt. I was heartbroken. It was a lot going on. I was struggling to stay alive. I'm not going to lie. I was struggling to stay alive at the time. I didn't see worth living, but somehow in me at the time, I decided to fight. I made a decision to fight. So I started journaling what I was thinking. And while I was journaling what I was thinking, there were some positive aspects that were coming up throughout the day. See, there's some stuff during the day. When you're paying attention, you start to see little gems during the day. So there were some positive aspects that was coming during the day. I will write those positive aspects down. Those positive aspects gave me the opportunity to see the possibilities that was ahead of me. Do you know when I looked at my positive aspects for that particular year, my now lives out those positive aspects. And I'm not even like thinking about it.
Mhm.
So I'm like crying because I'm like, oh my God, it felt like a prophecy. I feel like my journal at the time was fighting for me to be the one I am now. Right. And so when I think of the pain that I am at the time, I don't regret it no more because of who I become in the process. When you become something great, you can't regret your process without taking away your reward. Your reward is too great for you to want to undo any of it. You can't touch your past because if you touch any of it, you touch all of it. So you want to accept the greatness. And if you don't feel great, let's walk towards that greatness. You got to first believe that you are great. In order for you to obtain that greatness or expose that greatness or uncover that greatness or discover your greatness, you have to first believe that that greatness is there. No matter what you see, where you are, what you have going on, no matter how hurt you are, an inkling of hope that greatness is there is all you need, just a sprinkle. You know how when you have like crushed red pepper and you're seasoning your food and you just need a little bit goes a long way. A little hope goes a long way. A little idea of greatness goes a long way. A little positive aspect goes a long way. A little affirmation goes a long way. A little journaling goes a long way. And then what happens is when you come out of the break and now you're living your best life, when you look back, you can see the hope that you had. You can see the work. You can see your power. You can see what you put together in
Mhm.
order for you to become this. And it's so amazing to see because you're literally watching your transformation like a time lapse.
Mhm.
You ever watch a time lapse video
Mhm.
of a thunderstorm or somebody that is recording a whole day in a whole 24-hour period within 2 to 3 minutes.
Mhm.
And the thing is if we were to look at that, and I have this story on my website too. It's called Time Lapse, right? I have a video on there, and I've talked about the time lapse. When you watch those videos, how do we pertain this to life? During the day, when you see the clouds, sometimes the clouds is not moving fast, right? Sometimes it seems like the clouds are not doing nothing unless there's a storm. That's when you pay attention to the cloud. When things are moving too fast and a storm is brewing, that's when you're paying attention to the clouds, right? The clouds is always a work of art. All day, every day, the clouds is a work of art. No matter what kind of day is going on, those clouds is a work of art. You have to understand that you are also a work of art. You are also always in movement. There's always shifting and shaping. There's always something going on. Just because you don't see the movement does not mean the movement is not happening, right? So when you look at when you look at all day and it doesn't seem like the clouds is moving, when you go to look at the time lapse for out that whole day, you can see the shaping and the molding of the clouds and how beautiful it looks. This is you. When you look back into your old journal, into your old positive aspects, into your old thoughts, your old wishes, your old dreams, your old goals, you see the beauty that is you. You see your whole life transition and change, and it's just like, wow, what a work of art I have become. I don't want to erase that. So that woulda, shoulda, and coulda don't serve me, because I'm not interested in erasing myself. I'm not interested in erasing my greatness, my process, or my reward because it was too great. So this is why when you do your homework, you put you put where you are, where you want to be. I mean, you can have different pages if you need to, because sometimes you might have a whole lot of where you are and a whole lot of where you want to be, right? And then you put the thoughts that you're having now and the thoughts you're willing to think, the way you believe and what you want to believe. You know, you want to have something that counteracts that negative self-talk. What you say and believe about yourself is what matters, not what other people say about you. What you accept is based on what you believe about yourself. You can call me a cheese and cracker and I'm gonna laugh at you because that's not what I believe about myself. I'm not no cheese and no cracker. You don't see no ritz on my face. So I'm only gonna get upset or disturbed with what I connected with. So you have to know the greatness in you so you can connect to greatness and not disable, not regret, not I coulda, woulda, and shoulda. You have to know that you deserve the greatness and connect to that. So when someone calls you great, you'll answer the call because you already connect with it, because you already did the homework. So you want to make sure that you understand that you are a work of art in progress, and don't give up on that. Allow yourself to see it through. Do the necessary work. Build the power wall. Get the Attractive Thinker book. Go to visualencouragement.com so that you can have the tools you have in place. Look at Beyond the Break. We like we said, we have hundreds of episodes. Look at the episode that resonate with what you are going through right now. Look, we put these titles together so that you can easily find your answer. What do you resonate with in this moment? Look at that title and go through that show and see if you can grab some of them gems and jewels. I promise you there's gems and jewels in each and every one of them, because this is the stuff that's in us. This is not something we read from a book. This is not something somebody else taught us. This is something we learned from our experiences, and now we're using our experiences, making it count so that you can know you great. Because we know we great. We already did the work. We did what we're going to do. And the work is continual. Don't get me wrong. The work is continual. I'm going to continue to keep building greatness, because just when you get to great, more greatness call. It doesn't end. Just like how you say it rains and pours. It rains and pours over here too. It rains and pours in greatness, just like it rains and pours in pain. There's levels and levels of being through, but there's levels and levels of great. All you need is an inkling of hope of that in order for you to go forward. So make the decision. You can find me on my website at www.visualencouragement.com. We provide mental support for movers and shakers, for trailblazers, pathfinders, and groundbreakers. All you visionaries who desire to move mountains but need help lifting the heaviness so that you can create a new vision for yourself. Go to my contact us page, put in your information. Let me know how I can uplift you, enlighten you, and encourage you so that you can live a life of fulfillment and greatness beyond the break. Again, that's www.visualencouragement.com. See you soon.
Awesome. Attractive thinkers and visionaries around the world. I want you to consider the fact that what if your experiences really don't have a meaning, but what you're seeing is your perspective projected upon them?
Come on.
I want you to write that down in your Attractive Thinker notebook and really ponder on that thought this week. What if my experiences really don't have a meaning, but what I'm seeing is my perspective projected upon it? And my perspective comes from old programming, conditioning, faulty beliefs. And if that's the case, I can lift the weight of the things that I cannot change. You hear us always say our life's work is going to always be to make your life better. Remember, it is not what you're going through, it's how you're viewing it. Think attractively, and we'll see you soon.